Hello, boys and girls. It's that time again. It's time for the Successful Home Inspector Show, where we're here to share some funny home inspection stories, maybe some funny things that you found, how to increase your business. We're going to hear some success stories, maybe some stories that weren't so successful. Maybe we can learn from them. And we're going to share some resources here with you that help increase your business, and we're hoping to help raise the level of the industry as well. So sit back, and here's your host for the Successful Home Inspector Show, Preston Sandlin. Thanks a lot. Are you struggling to make your home inspection business grow? Well, have I got the answer for you. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. At HomeInspectionFlyers.com, you get 5 flyers a month. There are 3 sales flyers and 2 recipe flyers. And you can customize them to exactly what you want. And these make great flyers when you go to the offices to put in their boxes, especially if you're doing like candy bowls or something along that nature. Like I said, it's 5 flyers a month for $29.99, and they're very creative, and you just put in your information. They come as a publisher file, and you just put in your information, and then you send them off to get printed. You can send them off online, and you can get color copies for less than 10 cents a copy. It's a great way to go. I went from being a 1-man home inspection firm to a 7-man home inspection firm on this one strategy alone. So try it today. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. Thanks.
There, everybody out there in home inspection land. That's terrible. I'm going to cut that out. Well, thank you guys for being here today. I am here with Bruce LaBelle. I've been friends with Bruce on Facebook for quite a while now, and we actually wound up kind of hanging out, took a class together at the inspection conference in Las Vegas recently. And Bruce is a pretty sharp guy. He's pretty knowledgeable. He owns Royal Home Inspection in Scottsdale, Arizona. He was the immediate past president of the Arizona chapter, ASHI chapter. He is still on the National Board of Directors, ASHI. He is also a member of CREA in California. I'll let him tell you more about that. And CAPI, which is the Canadian Home Inspectors Organization. So we are really pleased and blessed to have Bruce here with us today. So, Bruce, tell us a little more about you, because we'd like to get to know you personally.
Well, thank you for having me, and Happy New Year to everybody. What a great way to start off the new year, is being interviewed on New Year's Day and starting off my 2015 by being on this program. So thank you for this opportunity. Yes, my name is Bruce LaBelle from Royal Home Inspectors. I also own a mold assessment company called, of all things, Got Mold.
Like Got Milk.
So when I was sitting in the class with Preston in Vegas, it happened to be a mold class, and I was trying not to answer some of the questions, let some of the other people be involved, as well as we were multitasking and doing some other things. But it was a great pleasure to finally get to sit down with you in a class. As you did mention, I do have a pretty interesting pedigree. I am the immediate past president for the state of Arizona for ASHI, so that means Arizona ASHI. I'm currently going through my 2nd term on the national board for the American Society of Home Inspectors, which is ASHI again. Right. I'm also a member for the California Real Estate Association of Home Inspectors, or what they call as CREA, and right. I'm also a member for the Canadian Home Inspector Association. And that way, being on these different associations, it also gives me an opportunity to branch out outside of Arizona so other people can actually find me and see what's going on. So just those couple of things is what I'm doing for some of the associations, as well as I'm on some stuff here locally in Arizona.
Cool. Well, tell us, Bruce, not too many of us grew up being a home inspector. How did you get into home inspection, and, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Well, when I was a kid in junior high and high school, I was that AV nerd. I was the guy back in the day that brought the projectors into the rooms and helped the teachers set them up, or, take things apart to find out why they worked, or try to take them apart when they didn't work. And, growing up, like most kids, I wanted to either be an astronaut or, be involved in sports, was trying out for the football teams and all the other things. So I wanted to make something of myself. Like some kids, I wasn't always the smartest kid. I specialized in gym and at lunch, mostly in school. But, I made it through and got my degrees and got where I needed to be. But, as a kid, I was that AV nerd. I always was taking things apart, tinkering with them. And then, I was in the consumer electronic business for almost 25 years, either as a sales rep or a national marketing rep or a trainer of some sort. And I worked for different electronic companies like AMD Processors, Monster Cable Products, where I had to learn how to sell speaker wire and do a 3-hour presentation just on why you wanted to buy a specific speaker wire.
Oh, fun.
So after hitting my head on the corporate ceiling in the electronic business for those years, I decided that, one day I was in one of my family's business offices who was a real estate agent / broker. And he said, well, come on over to the other side, and you'd be great as a real estate agent. You become a realtor. You could eventually become a broker. And at the time, computers weren't really that prevalent. And he had a staff next to his desk, probably about 3 foot high, just a little bit shorter than I am, because I'm a giant among men. I looked at all this paperwork and I just, no, that's just a little bit too much. No, found an opportunity to shadow a home inspector out here who became a really good confidant and friend, and I decided to go down the path of being a home inspector.
Okay. Do you guys have licensing in Arizona?
In the state of Arizona, we do have licensing, which started about 2002. I became a home inspector in 2004, so I was one of the first folks that had to go through the whole process of going through specific trainings that were required by the state to get licensed in the state of Arizona.
Oh, okay, cool. So approximately how long have you been doing inspections, and tell us about some of the changes you've seen?
Well, I've been a home inspector now 11 years. Today is my anniversary of getting started in the industry, of officially being licensed.
Congratulations.
Thank you. When I first got started, they were still doing the NCR books, where you have your own fonts when you wrote into it because, you had to have an interpreter because it was all hieroglyphics because it was all handwritten.
You must have seen some of my reports.
So I still have some of those old books as a backup, as a memento, especially when I teach classes to show where we've come from. They were just getting started with digital cameras, but they were still doing the Polaroids. I think they were like $1 to almost $2, for a Polaroid thing, and you had to be very sparing with your pictures when you took them. So now everything's digital. We're becoming more of photographers on site than not necessarily just, CSI agents going through and seeing what's going on at the house. So I've seen a lot of the digital age come and pass. When I first got started, we printed either on site or we mailed stuff out to folks. So it's becoming more of an instant gratification. Some of my clients know that they can get the stuff right away, and that's what they expect now from some of the people in the marketplace. What can you get for me now? How soon can I get this? What is the turnaround time? So we're becoming more efficient, more evolved, and we're coming, of age of more encompassing of more opportunities that we offer the clients, from digital imaging to mold assessment to radon, and the industry is just constantly evolving and growing of opportunities that we can give our clients.
You're exactly right. I was interviewing Dan Hebert the other day, and he was saying, yep, exactly. And he was saying, that a lot of things, what happens is, like this stuff you're saying, once real estate agents and clients get that, they're going to come to expect it from everybody. Exactly.
And you bring up a great guy, Dan. He has ISN, which is online scheduling, that you can incorporate into your website, that you can incorporate a lot of his product to make you more streamlined and more complete, so you can offer more services and opportunities for your clients.
Absolutely. And that leads right into my next question, Bruce. How do you handle your scheduling and phone calls? I know you're doing a lot of inspections, so how do you do your scheduling?
Well, I'm still a little bit old-fashioned. I've gotten away from the crayons and from the chalk. So, I'm But most of it's all, hey, I give them personalized service. I'm what you call the smart friend. And the smart friend is, who do you call when you have that question? Who are you going to ask, that one thing that maybe you're not really sure to go to? I'm going to use a different reference. In your growing up or in your circle of influence that you may have, you have smart friends that you go to. Say, for instance, your computer's not working right. You're going to call this guy all the time and say, hey, why can you do something? Can you help me with it? Or remember back in the day when there were VCRs and they were blinking 12. Who did you call? You called that smart friend.
Right.
That's what I try to do, is being that smart friend. I want the clients to know that when they're calling, they're reaching out to me. Yes, it's still a little old-fashioned. Yes, I would recommend having a calling center because sometimes it is inconvenient to answer the phone. Sometimes you're on that roof or you're in that attic or you're with that client, you have to excuse yourself. But they know that I'm giving them that personal treatment and I'm ready, Johnny, on the spot to answer the questions that they may have to make sure that I'm that smart friend.
I hear you. Bruce, I wasn't the smart friend. I was the friend with the pickup truck. So I was the one everybody called when they had to move.
I can appreciate that.
I was like, pretty soon I got to sell this truck because it's going to be a lot more work. All right. So
I just made it so it wasn't available. It was always full of stuff.
Exactly. There you go. But I definitely wasn't the smart friend. You got to go. That was my brother, actually.
Well, when you try to, my elbow's a little broken at the moment from patting myself on the back, but it's just, I use that as a reference. That way when the real estate professionals need to ask a question, they don't go to somebody else, they come to me.
No, that's good. Come be the, what do they call it?
And that's how they market it to their clients as well.
Yeah, the obvious expert. You want to be position yourself as an obvious expert. Okay, so we talked about you do have licensing. Well, this question we've already answered. It says, are you a member of associations? Many. Which ones? What are the benefits of the associations that you're members of?
Well, there's so many different benefits to go into it, and yes, I'm a little biased because I am a returning board member, and I've been very active in the associations. One of the benefits is it's not just having the opportunity to meet with other people in the industry like yourself or other people from around the country that have different experiences. Right. There's a lot of opportunities to network. There's a lot of opportunities to commiserate or share war stories. I have found that I've learned more in the hallways and at lunches and at dinners and hanging out with some of these more seasoned, some of the people who have been in the industry so much longer, and learning not necessarily from their opportunities, but also learning from their mistakes.
Right.
And say, hey, you've done this marketing. Why didn't it work for you? Or you used to do your home inspection this way. How come that worked or didn't work? A lot of the classrooms will teach you the basics of fundamental of going and saying, okay, when you're looking at this, this is how you approach it. This is how you write it up. And those opportunities are great. The seminars, as long as you participate and you go, are very informal and very educational. But just the opportunity to, like I said, hang out with somebody like yourself or a Dan Huber or some of the other people in the industry, even Mike Crow, when he's not teaching, he has a different outlook and a different aspect of not always selling the millionaire mindset, but just tapping into some of that experience that he has and approaching him on a one-on-one and not a teacher relationship. So it gives you more advantage in front of these people.
Absolutely. I highly recommend going to conferences and did exactly what you said. Hang out, go early, stay late. Make sure you stay in the hotel where they're having the conference because you learn a lot. Because, one time I waited too late and I had to stay in a hotel across the street. But there's so much you learn from just hanging out. I don't want to encourage anybody to go to the bar, but the bar, the coffee, you don't have to drink beer. You can drink water or Pepsi.
Exactly. It's just like if you're there and you're present and, you'll end up hanging out with different people from all over the country. And they have so much different insight. And some of them may be just brand new getting started, and they're migrating to you because you've been around for a while.
And that's right. And you know what? You're Bruce, you're hanging out with people who are not in your marketplace. So they're much more willing to help you. A lot of times, and I'm friends with all my competitors, but I know sometimes those local associations, these guys are your competition, maybe not as forthcoming as somebody at a conference who, you're not going to be a competitor of theirs.
Well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to plagiarize Mike Crow and say I love my competition. But keep in mind, yes, when we go to some of our local conferences and we're hanging out, and I have a lot of friends that I go to lunch with that are fellow home inspectors.
Right.
I'm often imitated but never duplicated.
Right.
And some of these guys may have specialties in my marketplace that I don't offer, and I have specialties that they don't have. Right. And we will commingle and go do a job to help the client. So say, for instance, right now I've chosen not to do thermal imaging, but I have several good friends that do. And I'll call them up and say, what's your availability? Can you come out and scan this house for me? This is what I suspect, or this is what I need to accomplish.
Right.
And that's also one of the great benefits of being part of one of these associations.
Absolutely. And I did want to clarify that I am of my competition, and they're good guys. But
oh yeah, but there's plenty of work to go around for everybody, and as long as you play fair and you respect each other, and you're not trying to diss or downgrade somebody else, there's plenty of the pie to go around for everybody. There really is.
Absolutely. Well, Bruce, Stephen Covey, is the author of the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. One of his habits is sharpening the saw. That's what I always tell my guys, which, continued education or training or, things that evolve. How do you sharpen the saw?
Well, saws have many teeth. And you want to take one tooth at a time when you're sharpening. So we're doing that, going to trade shows, constantly evolving and learning more of my craft, or as we say, the home inspection industry. Going to inspection worlds, going to other association events to immerse yourself in maybe something that's going on or not. Volunteering in the community.
Right.
A lot of different ways to be out there and get some exposure and knowledge. And I'm a believer, the more you know, the more you grow.
Oh, I like that. And Bruce does a lot for the community. If you go to his page, you can see you do a lot of the clown. Is it like the clown for JCs, or tell us a little bit about that?
Well, right now what I'm doing, and I was going to talk about that in a little bit, I am actually a member of Climb. And if you watch parades or if you watch, different things, you'll see that the Shriners International Association helps children that are in need burn units. We have hospitals all over the country that help children, and the children don't pay to go to these hospitals.
Right.
I am actually a clown, believe it or not, with makeup, that I go to parades. I've been in several circuses that, I've put on the grease makeup and dressed up. And, I'm out there trying to raise awareness or even raise money for these hospitals to take care of these sick children. So I'm actually a shrine clown.
I think it's awesome, man. I think it's awesome.
And yes, I do have a Facebook page of just dedicated to my clown persona.
What is that?
My clown persona is Goober D Clown. GOOBERDCLOWN. And you can find that on Facebook, and you can like me. And you'll see when I'm out in parades driving in my little sports car, because, I'm one of those Shriners that has a specialized sports car. And when you go down the street, you just see all the smiles from the people and the smiles from the kids. We just did an event a couple of weeks ago at one of the military bases for the military kids because their fathers are off serving someplace.
Right. That's awesome.
To try to bring smiles to these kids.
I think that's great. And it gives you a higher, we're more than just home inspectors. And it gives us a lot more meaning, giving back.
Well, it gives me the opportunity to give back to the community.
Absolutely. Well, Bruce, do you have a success quote you'd like to share with the listeners?
Well, there's several, and I gave you one already. The more you know, the more that you grow.
Okay.
Working for the guy that owns Monster Cable, his couple of quotes were, "How do you know what you don't know?"
That's
I'm
true.
constantly learning. I'm constantly asking questions. If I see something, I'm going to be the first person to say, I'm not really sure what that is. Let me take an opportunity to go and ask and find out. Because I don't know. I've never seen it before, so I didn't know to ask. And so I just found it.
Right,
So
right.
90% is not 100% either. So a couple of things that I live by. How do you know what you don't know? Be willing and open to learn. And 90% is not 100. If you don't get the job done at 100%, you didn't do the job.
I hear you. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right, Bruce, let's say that I'm a buyer or a real estate agent in your market. There are several other home inspectors in your market. Why should I hire you? Is there something you do that others don't?
Well, I tend to approach this as a all-encompassing type of company with mine, meaning that you call me, it's going to be a one-stop shop. I'm going to try to get you whatever your needs could possibly be. If you're calling me up and first and foremost you're looking for a home inspector, I have to be able to tell them what I offer, how I deliver, and when I deliver it, trying to set the expectation.
Right,
I'm going to ask them a few probing questions of what are going to be some of their needs going through this home inspection. If they are looking for some needs that I don't offer, once again, being involved with the different associations, I have the ability to bring in those services. So I offer a one-stop shopping opportunity so I can try to fulfill all their needs to close that deal.
Cool. Well, Bruce, besides home inspection and being working for the Shriners as a clown, is there something that you to raise money? Is there something you do in your spare time? Well, that probably takes up a lot.
Well, I like to think I have some spare time, but I'm living with a great gal. I've been with her for 4 years, and she's got 3 kids. I got 2 kids, so I got 5 kids running around the house. So when I'm not out doing charity events or I'm not out preaching the good word of home inspection, I spend a lot of time with the kids.
Cool. What are their ages, if you don't mind me asking?
The ages are 12, 2 that are 11, but they're not twins, 1 that's 10, and 1 that's 7.
Oh, I got 10 and 14 at my house. Both girls. You have a little bit of each?
I got 3 boys and 2 girls.
I hear you. It's on the job training, and it will come with a manual.
All the time. You never know. Every day is a blessing, and every day you never know what you're going to be blessed with.
Oh, yeah. You know what my littlest one told me when she was about 5? She said, "Daddy, when Mommy's not here, you can be the boss." I'm like, what? I thought I was the boss all the time. They call it like they see it,
Only when she lets you.
That's right. Well, tell
and
us
it's taken me a few years to learn that, and this is my second try in learning that.
Well, Bruce, you know as well as I do that if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. How do you handle the unhappy camper? Do you have a process? What does that look like?
Well, first I'm going to kill them with kindness.
Okay.
And keep in mind I said kindness, not just kill them. You always got to let them vent.
Right.
If they have a complaint, there may have been something that I didn't do, like setting the expectation.
Right.
Didn't fulfill their needs. So until they vent and they tell me what the actual real problem is, I can't try to help them correct it. Maybe I did not set the expectation properly. Maybe their representative in the real estate market or a family member might have gotten into their ear and say, well, you really should have done that.
Right.
And maybe we didn't approach that before we got the expectation started.
Right.
Quite possibly, and we're all human. I tease them that, I got shot with kryptonite, that I can't see through walls and floors anymore, that I'm just going to have to do what is called a visual inspection, non-intrusive.
Right.
Sometimes they want something that's a little bit more in-depth, and I didn't know this at the time, that they had a specific concern because they had an incident that they'd gone through before with maybe another house that they were involved with, or another horror story that a family member shared with them. So, yes, we try to let them vent. We try to kill them with kindness. we try to find where the actual problem is, and we try to help the client solve the problem.
Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Bruce, this is a good spot here to just kind of pause for our sponsor. So we're just going to pause for just a second.
Hey, home inspectors out there, I'm going to tell you a creative, inexpensive way to increase your business massively. Go to homeinspectionflyers.com and get the flyers. You get 5 flyers a month. You customize them to yourself. They're turnkey, they're creative, and it's $29 a month for 5 flyers. That's less than $6 a flyer. And they are done by yours truly, Preston Sandlin, and I am a creative guy, especially when I don't take my medication. But I come up with some crazy stuff. It works for my business. I went from 1 inspector to 7 inspectors with this strategy alone. So again, for $29.95, you get 5 flyers. I do 1 per week. I send them off to get copied on the internet. I can get them for about 7 cents a piece, and I put them out in the boxes when I do my candy run. Works fantastic. homeinspectionflyers.com. Thanks.
You know, when I see the thing where I see it flat line, I can divide it.
There you go.
All right, Bruce. Well, this one's a little bit of a tougher question, but, you know, I like to get to know the guest. Tell us about a time when you failed. And, you know, I asked myself this, and I'm like, oh, man, there's so many. I don't know. But a time when you failed, take us there. What did you learn from it?
Well, there's a couple. There's personal failures, and then there's, you know, business failures. As a personal failure, I had a failed relationship. You know, unfortunately, me and an ex decided to part ways, and the best thing out of it is I got 2 children out of it. So, yeah, usually when you go through that, you can't make a relationship like that work. That's a significant failure. You know, maybe not necessarily chasing my dream. You know, like I said, I dream to be more active in sports or to do a little bit more, to have some more accomplishments than where I'm at right now. So I don't know if it's necessarily a failure. It's more of a regret. At my tender age of going to be 52, I would have thought that I would be in a little bit different place than I am now.
Oh, man, you're president of ASHI. What are you talking about? Go ahead.
Some people tell me I've lived a charmed life if they know my whole history. And to me, it's just like, yeah, well, you know, you could always do, like I said earlier, there's always room for Jello. There's always room for improvement, and I'm constantly striving to be the best that I can at every opportunity that I can. And if I can mentor some people or help people on the way, that's what my goal and intention is.
That's right. Well, and, you know, you're helping people, you know, with your Shriner stuff, man. You're doing all kinds of good stuff.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, on the other end of the spectrum, tell us about, and I know there's always room for improvement. You know, we're never satisfied. I get it, because that's what makes us. But has there ever been a moment when you, like, kind of were like, wow, you know, maybe not I made it, but, you know, one of those moments that, like, I did that sort of thing?
Well, I was a little nervous because when I got out of the consumer electronic industry and was studying for the home inspection, I had to take the national test, and you had to get a specific score just to be able to be licensed in our state.
Right.
And, you know, as I alluded to earlier, I specialized in school in, you know, lunch, recess, STEM. So schooling wasn't necessarily my forte. I was never an honor student. I sort of just got by. So, you know, it was really, really, really enlightening and very stressful to go through the licensing process, because I had heard so many horror stories that licensed inspector had gone through and taken the tests on several occasions and not passed.
Right.
So for me to go through the process and buckle down and focus and actually pass the test the first time with a 96% passing rate, which, you know, gave me the opportunity not just to get my license in Arizona, but made me eligible for other states.
Right.
So that was a win-win successful moment for me. But up until that point, yeah, I must have lost a couple of pounds just in anxiety and worry of, oh, God, I got to take this 500 quiz test and, you know, pass it. And, you know, there was a lot riding on it at that time.
I hear you. Yeah, I remember when I took mine, you know, now I think they find out immediately, but I was holding that envelope up to the light, taking a peek, but I passed it. I didn't score as high as you did, but I passed it.
It's almost like your significant other going for an ultrasound and you're not really sure if you want to know what the sex of the baby's going to be. Holding that envelope up to the light and say, oh, please, 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 please.
I got a story.
That acceptance letter to college.
Yes. I went to the ultrasound with my wife, both of them, and we found out the sex of the baby, and her parents went to both of them. And I had a girl, the first, so the second one, I was kind of wanting a boy. I love my girls, don't get me wrong, but I was kind of wanting a boy, so we play football, all that sort of stuff. And the parents knew this, and, everybody's looking at that screen, and he's like, well, I don't see the, it's like, I think it's a girl, and it was like a tennis match. Like everybody's head went, when it's following the ball on me, and my immediate is like, look happy. Don't you dare.
Well,
darn.
Going through some of that as well, and I'm just very blessed that I have all these children in my life. Especially when I get older, I'll have somebody to push me around. So it's all good.
Well, I love my girls, and they're super smart, and one day they're going to take care of me, so that's a good thing. Well,
if nothing else, they can make pancakes for you.
There you go. So, Bruce, do you have a favorite book you could recommend to our listeners, and what is it about the book that appeals to you?
There's a couple of books that are really easy reading, and I found in the industry that a lot of us are hands-on. A lot of us are right there in the moment, and some of us didn't come from an industry that dealt a lot with management or dealt a lot with marketing. So there's a couple of books that I recommend to everybody. First one is Raving Fans.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Raving
Fans pretty much helps you focus on do what you do good, and what you're not really good at, let somebody else do that, because that may be their specialty.
Sure.
Once again, that gives you the opportunity of, if you're really good at one aspect of your business, but some of the others like thermal imaging or radon or something else, partner up with somebody that you can trust to do that aspect, because maybe they're better at that than you are.
Right.
Raving Fans, offering them something that you specialize in. Another one would be Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, yeah.
Two very basic, very easy books, very easy concept. Just because you keep going to the same spot all the time for your marketing or your sales and you've had good results, and all of a sudden it doesn't work, don't just sit there and wait for some more cheese to come in. Maybe you have to keep moving and be involved with the industry and pay attention to what's going on. You may have to alter yourself or adjust yourself to find that next batch of cheese.
Excellent. Good advice. And it has changed a lot. I tell guys all the time, when I first got into this business, you just get a couple business cards, drop them off at the office. That's all you needed. But, oh, man, it takes a lot more than that now.
Well, especially now when you go into a lot of these offices, everybody's operating out of their house now. They have home offices.
Right.
And if you can't get in front of them in other ways, then you have to find more creative ways to do that.
You're absolutely right. Well, Bruce, tell us a little bit about your ancillary services. What do you offer to offer more value to your clients?
Well, I do a lot of different things. I'm an accredited teacher by the Arizona Department of Real Estate, so I actually can go out and teach classes to real estate professionals.
Okay.
I offer mold assessments. I offer allergen screens, VOC, volatile organic compound screenings. I offer different things to investors like video scanning. We'll walk through with the investor, and we'll do a video of the house real quick just so they know a basic of what's going on. It's not a full home inspection, but it gives them a quick idea of, is this going to be something that we need to go forward to, and then follow up with an inspection. We also offer safety videos where we'll come out to Grandma's house or Aunt Mildred's house, and we'll walk through and we'll do a safety assessment of somebody's house and say, okay, here, this is what's going on at Grandma's house or Aunt Mildred's house, Uncle Frank's house. These are the things that you really need to address and fix because this could cause a health problem or a safety concern. So those are just a couple of things that we do to try to give extra benefit to the clients, as well as when a client calls up and they have a need for a termite assessment or radon or thermal imaging, I have several other fellow home inspectors in my marketplace that I can call on and say, hey, look, I got a termite inspection. I'm going to book that for you, and I'll call the termite company directly. So it's an extra step that I'm willing to take care of the client.
Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Bruce, I know you've been doing this 11 years. I know the answer to this before I ask, but have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? I know I have.
Oh, when doesn't it happen? It happens all the time. You know, the first thing that they're going to say is, well, your inspector should have seen that.
Absolutely.
Your inspector should have caught that. Why didn't your inspector? I see it. Why don't they inspect it?
Exactly.
When we're out with the client, the first thing we have to, once again, is set the expectation.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to inspect this. Or when I inspect this, I'm looking for this. Or when I do this, I do this. And I'm going to use an example of a sprinkler system in a house.
Okay.
You know, you're watering for the garden and the lawn or whatever. And I get this asked all the time, do you do irrigation systems or sprinkler systems? And I'll tell them, you know something, I would love to do that for you, but that's not my specialty. I will check the head end for where it comes out, but if I go and turn it on, and only 3 heads pop out of the ground, I'm going to go, woohoo. How do I know there's supposed to be 12?
Right.
Not only that, but when I'm looking at that sprinkler system, and you get a specialist out, they're going to be able to tell you the flow rate and the coverage area and the drip patterns and all these other things. I can't do that. I would be wasting your time and your money if I attempted to do that. So if I'm open and honest and upfront with them and say, these are the services that I don't offer, but I can get somebody to do that for you, once again, that makes me the smart friend. And it's excellent. Getting put under the bus.
That's excellent. That's kind of like, I think I've heard that called answering no with a yes. It's kind of like, yes, I could do that for you, but let me tell you what the limitations would be if I did it versus what, you know what I mean? So that's
Exactly. And once again, if you set the expectations and you get everybody on the same page, they're more likely to listen to you.
Right.
If they're only concerned about one thing and you address that and say, look, I'm going to address this, or I'm going to find somebody to address this for you, anything else you find during the process of the inspection, they're more inclined to partner with you and listen to them.
Absolutely. And I tell my guys all the time, you know, the more you do a good job there and they like you and you convert, the better, or easier it's going to be able to handle if there's a callback or that contractor throws you under the bus. You know, you can do a good job setting expectations, just like you said.
And you know, some of these contractors, and I might be stealing your thunder, they try to gain business by scaring you.
Yeah.
They really do. Because if you don't get that fixed, something's going to happen that's going to be really bad.
Oh,
well,
started.
People equate bad with money.
Right.
They don't equate bad with getting hurt.
Right.
So, again, when you address it, and that could go back to when they call up and complain. This is one of the things that you're listening to find out what the problem is, to help you help them solve the problem.
Yeah. You know, that's sort of, we kind of almost covered the next question. I'll go ahead and read it and see if there's any ground that we can cover. One thing that bothers me is that contractors who come out and use fear to sell the buyer something they may or may not need. Sometimes the inspector gets caught up as the contractor will falsely say, your inspector should have caught this. It also seems like there's more and more liability being put on the inspector, I think. I've been doing it about 15 years, and it is so much more litigious now than it was then. Other professions like realtors have a strong lobby, and I don't think home inspectors have a lobby like sort of protecting us. Do you have any ideas? You know, I'm not sure what I'm looking for here. What are your thoughts on that?
With that, I'm going to try to address it in a couple of different ways. Nobody wants to take responsibility when they go through the inspection.
Right.
You know, the realtors don't want to take certain responsibilities. The homeowners, some of them will read the report, some of them don't. They're only going to take certain responsibilities. The contractor is going to come out and say, well, he should have caught that, or he should have done that. Right. One of the things that we used to teach when I was in the consumer electronic business I'm going to use a reference of the surge protectors.
Right.
And they used to sell them with fear that, oh, if there's that lightning out there and you don't have a surge protector, all of your electronics are going to fail and melt and they're going to be useless.
Oh, boy.
You need to buy this $200 surge protector to protect you from lightning. Well,
yeah.
I got to tell you, lightning doesn't destroy as much as everybody thinks it does. Surge happens from other things, like every time your compressor for your HVAC goes out.
Right.
The compressor to your refrigerator goes out. A small drill that's plugged into the wall that has a motor. That's where surge comes from. But when some people are not educated properly, the only way they can turn around and sell is by fear.
Right. Right.
So that's the first part. The second portion, with the lobbying, in the state of Arizona, we do have some lobbyists that are working on behalf of the home inspectors and ASHI to our legislature to try to help protect us a little bit better.
Yeah, ASHI does a great job of that, I hear.
ASHI, as a whole, we have lobbyists in Washington to help get us bills passed and to help get certain reforms done and certain expectations out there in the society, not just by itself, but in the real estate community, to let them know that, hey, we have a standards of practice. We have all these other things, and this is what we're doing to try to help protect the consumer.
Right. Right.
Not so much just the home inspector, because if the home inspector follows a certain guideline and he adheres to state regulations and follow these guidelines, that's not just protecting the consumer, that's also going to protect the home inspector.
Right. Right.
I personally am on an advisory board in the state of Arizona that reviews complaints that goes to the licensing committee.
Oh, okay.
The PAC for the Board of Technical Registration out in Arizona. I'm very privileged to be able to do this because what I get to do is I review, obviously, the complaint. I review the inspector that's being complained about's report, and then we look for a teaching opportunity to try to help this inspector so he doesn't go through it again.
Right.
Sometimes some of us are very pig-headed and we can't accept the teaching, or we don't feel that there was an issue, then it makes it a little bit more challenging. But that's also another way of part of the lobbying and helping in the industry for everybody to grow, for everybody to.
I think that's excellent, Bruce. And I love your word there, thick-headedness, and that really leads into my next question. And you'll see how this connects here in a second. I want to ask your opinion on something. I'm bothered by what I see on home inspection forums sometimes. And don't get me wrong, I think they're a great way, especially when you have new inspectors, to try to learn. And, like you said, there's some seasoned inspectors, and there's some on there that are very willing to help. But unfortunately, there's some on there who want to beat their chest and want to tell you, how smart they are and how not smart you are. And I've seen it deteriorate to pretty ugly stuff that just makes the profession look horrible. Nobody wants to be a bad inspector. Nobody knows it all. Do you have any ideas on how we can keep it positive and professional?
Well, I'm assuming this is a G-rated show, so I'm going to try to keep
Yeah, please. Hold on, iTunes. They asked me.
Being a home inspector is a great opportunity. I think it's one of the greatest jobs in the world because I get paid to be nosy. I get paid for my opinion. Whether my opinion's good or not is not what they're paying me for. They're paying me for my opinion.
Right.
All home inspectors have opinions. Right. All of us have an attitude or an aura. I don't want to say we're all arrogant, but we've had to develop a little bit of a thick skin because we're exposing ourselves and putting ourselves on the line with our opinion.
Right.
And I keep using that word because ego sometimes gets in the way. And some of the folks that have been in the business for a while are not necessarily able, willing to change.
That's true. We're in a constantly evolving, growing market.
And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly evolving, growing market. And we're in a constantly constantly evolving, growing industry. I've been around and had the opportunity to be around folks who have been in the industry for 30 years. And they're very opinionated and they're very set in their ways.
Right.
And as a home inspector, you develop tools or a system, and you get set in that way. And it's very hard to break that system or set that rule different as it's evolving. And we get a chip on our shoulder and say, oh, you can't do that. I've always done it this way. Well, that might be fine and good, and that might work for you, or that might work in your industry or your circle of influence or your marketplace. But that doesn't necessarily going to work for me or in my marketplace or my personality.
Right.
So it's good to be able to share experience. It's good to have the opportunity to gain from some of your knowledge and from some of your background and some of your past and even possibly some of your mistakes. But yeah, there is a lot of ego, and sometimes they're out thumping their chest. And as long as we can be professional and courteous and agree sometimes to disagree, I think that's the direction we need to go in.
Absolutely, I agree. You know, I have a saying in all my guys and my family: it's okay to disagree, but it's not okay to disrespect. And it works well. We sometimes have to remind each other of that, though.
Well, and you know, being in a multi-inspector firm, I can understand that you're trying to direct them in a specific way to run your business with a certain model. Right. But they're all different personalities. They're going to have a little bit of different influence when they're there with the client. But as long as everybody can respect each other, then, you know, sometimes that's the best way to look at it.
I hear you. Great stuff. Now, Bruce, remember, this is a G-rated show here for this next question. I did tell iTunes, because they do. They actually, I got into Stitcher. I'm still waiting to hear back from iTunes. It should be a day or two. But ask you, you know, is it clean or is it explicit? I told them clean. I can't imagine it being too bad. But with that in mind, what is the wildest, craziest, weirdest, or weirdest, one or the other, or all the above, that you found on an inspection?
Well, I will definitely keep it clean. We all have those stories where we walk in the houses and we found appliances that are used in certain
ways
times that we shouldn't be using them.
Right.
And we find them in very unique places, up in attics, in, you know, closets behind stuff. So, you know, I'm sure everybody has a story with that. Or you've been in the house where that specific others had that daydream or that vision of, you know, being with somebody that's walking around with a tool belt and, you know, going and saying, oh, I'm going to live the fantasy.
Right.
Trying to keep it clean. There was this one time that I walked into this house, which I'm going to give you two clean ones. It was probably about 2 or 3 months after Halloween.
Okay.
And I went to go crawl up into an attic. And, you know, when you get up into an attic, you're first looking around to make sure that your ladder doesn't fall down on anything. And it's nicely secured. And then you put it up into the scuttle area. And, you know, you progressively lift the scuttle cover off to make sure that it's not heavy, it's not damaged, nothing's going to fall out of the attic. Make sure you don't get engulfed with insulation. Well, opened it up, and, you know, when you first walk into the attic, it's usually dark. So, you know, you're shining your flashlight, looking around. You're possibly out in Arizona. We have light switches because a lot of our HVAC systems are up in the attic. Right. So there's lighting up there. Well, this happened to be an older home. Went up into the scuttle hole, had my flashlight on, turning around the scuttle hole, all of a sudden I see this thing that's approximately 12 inches in diameter, black, and has 2 red eyes staring at me.
Oh, boy.
It happened to be a rubber spider.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was right there at the scuttle hole, and if I told you that I probably had to go out to the car and change my pants, that would be an understatement.
I started to say, I think that would have happened.
I'd have had to find the porta potty or something after that.
The second instance was a couple of weeks later, walking into a garage, flipping on the light, and the light didn't work in the garage. Well, the garage was turned into a workout studio.
Okay.
And the guy that was in there used to do mixed martial arts.
Okay.
Well, as I'm shining the light around the room, I saw a shadow. And I couldn't really make it out what it was. And I shined the light a little bit closer. There it was this workout dummy. I actually thought it was a body.
Oh, is it like one of those ones they do karate on type deal? Go ahead. Sorry.
Exactly. It was like, it was a full-length mannequin body that they did mixed martial arts on. They practiced their different hits and whatever. But this thing was so lifelike and so where it was positioned, and it was sitting right next to a mirror. So, first I saw the reflection in the mirror and I thought somebody was in there. And then I looked a little bit closer and saw that it looked like a body the way it was slumped over. So that was another opportunity where, thank God, I kept extra clothes in my truck.
I hear you, Bruce. I hear you. Good stuff.
And those are the cleaner ones that I can tell.
You had to clean them up. I hear you. Well, next conference, tell me some of the other ones that not for prime time. Well, Bruce,
there you go.
Do you have a training or internet or marketing resource you'd be willing to share with our listeners?
Well, there's a lot of different ones out there, and we alluded to some of them earlier. Kevin O'Malley is a great resource that I talk with and use some of his stuff. Guy on your side of the town, Ken Compton.
Right.
Also Mike Crow and some of the things that Mike offers. The things from Ashy. Ashy has a great training program, a lot of online tutorials, a lot of online classes. I try to look for whatever resources that I have. I don't have one specific one because our needs are constantly changing.
Right.
And sometimes, when you go to a clinic or you go to a seminar or you go someplace, they'll come up and say, hey, take this online tutorial or check this online class or go to this website. And there's a couple of associations out there that offer great training opportunities, great internet resources. But once again, I still find out I learn more by being in the presence of folks that have been in the industry to be able to absorb some of their energy and to live vicariously through some of their past and help me grow with some of my stuff.
I wholeheartedly agree, Bruce. Wholeheartedly agree. Is there anything you're working on right now that has you jacked up or excited about?
Well, I just got, like I said, renominated back onto the National Board of Directors, so I'm getting ready to start focus on that to help, move us forward and to help grow the industry. I'm still working on, do I want to get into thermal imaging? I'm toying with the idea by some of my Facebook friends that I live in awe of with their drones, but out here have been very well accepted, especially by the real estate community. So I haven't really jumped into it. Plus, I've had a couple of bad experiences with the helicopters where, some of them have disappeared. Or
Me too. Well, Bruce, let me tell you, I've been wanting to do this for years. I have a couple of drones. We don't use them prime time out there yet because we're waiting on the FAA. But for years, Bruce, we would go to a house with a really steep roof or, for whatever reason we couldn't get on it. It was slate, whatever. And I always said, with as much daggone technology as we've got today, there's got to be a way. I would even go on Google Earth and zoom down, how you can see, but it would pixelate so bad.
Exactly.
I actually bought one of the Mac Daddy, before the drones came out, I actually bought one of the Mac Daddy helicopters, and I put a camera on it, and it didn't work out so well.
Well, like I said, I've been doing my due diligence, and I've been doing my studying, and I've found a couple that would meet the needs, and I've talked with several people that are dabbling with them a little bit as well. But until the government decides which direction we can use these in, it's really an expensive toy that I'm going to put on hold for a little bit. But yeah, like I said before, I'm the techno geek. I'm the guy that likes to play with all the different toys. So
I'll get up on my soapbox for just a second on that. And I know that you're interviewed. I'm sorry, but the drones. Here's what makes me mad about that, though. The people who would be using them to inspect roofs are not the problem. It's the crazies that are out by the airport flying the thing up, or over stadiums or something. And it's funny, they've made it illegal for commercial use, but it's still legal for recreational. It's the recreational folks that are causing the problem. The people who would be using it for commercial would be the responsible ones. But
the pushback that we've gotten out here in Arizona is, you're invading my privacy. Because out in Arizona, and I'm trying to keep this clean, a lot of the homes out here have pools.
Right.
And some people, when they're out by the pools, they may not be as covered up.
Right.
And it's not like you can't see it when you're standing on the roof. They just don't want to.
Exactly.
Not to say that I haven't ever seen anybody take pictures while they're up on the roof, but that's a whole other story in itself.
That might be along with those other things that weren't for prime time. Tell me to come.
Exactly. But see, that's where the pushback is out here. It's the invasion of privacy.
I hear you. Well, they actually had special approval for filmmakers to use them for movies and stuff. Right.
They do.
They're the strong lobby. Now here's a tricky question. If you had to start over in a brand new town equal to the size of Scottsdale, like you woke up tomorrow and it was another town equal to the size you live in, you had to start all over, room and board taken care of, you still have all the knowledge you currently have, and you still have all your equipment, and you have $5,000. Broad strokes, what are you doing that first week?
Well, the first thing I would want to know is, why did I get run out of Scottsdale? What did I do? That's a really tough question. The first thing I would probably do is, being that my financial situation is set where I know that my bills are paid for housing, I would make sure that I've gone out first and foremost and introduced myself or find out the realtor associations.
Right.
And get to know and possibly join one of those. Right. Yes, going out and networking and marketing at a lot of the different real estate offices.
Right.
Maybe find out where or how I could get involved with maybe teaching some classes or going to real estate marketing sessions. Getting out and pressing the flesh, getting out to know some of these folks. The more they see you out and about, the more they're going to trust you. If you can get out and teach classes, they're going to say, well, gee, he taught me something I didn't know in the class. Why wouldn't I recommend him for my client?
Right.
Again, going back after that model of being the smart friend, being the resource.
Right.
But first and foremost, finding out where the real estate associations are, finding out how I can get involved with them so I can get them to represent me and to promote me to their client, as well as trying to get out and maybe do some clinics or because I know a lot of the different lenders and title companies will constantly do first-time home buyer clinics. Right, offer your services to them to be a resource. Sit on a panel. Go to some networking things. I know some people that do nothing but BNI for their leads. That's another reference that you can go and do. Getting some of these different types of meetings. Anything to try to get out in front of people so they can see that you're knowledgeable, you're caring, that you're willing to help their client get that peace of mind. And that's what you're there for, to help them make that sound decision and know that they've gotten good peace of mind doing.
Absolutely. Well, guys, Bruce has dropped some gold nuggets on you there. I hope you're taking notes. I'm going to rewind that and listen. That's good stuff.
Well, no plagiarism now. Like I said, often imitated but never duplicated.
I'll give you credit. I Well, Bruce, we're starting to wind down here. You've been so gracious, and I appreciate it. You have dropped a lot of value on us this evening.
Well, like I said, I think this is a great opportunity, especially to start off my new year. And I once again, I want to thank you for letting me have this great New Year's present.
No, and where I came up with this is I love listening to podcasts, but I love to, we're in our cars all the time. And, I listen to sports talk radio a lot, but my teams were just so terrible for so long. And by the way, our teams are playing Saturday. Arizona and Panthers, by the way. But, we've somehow made the playoffs. But anyway, neither here nor there. I thought I wish this existed, and because it didn't exist, I wanted to create it. And I was thinking, what would be something we could do to learn from each other, keep it positive, give us all something to listen to, and you're making that happen right now, and I appreciate it. Is there anything, Bruce, that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
Not that I can think of. The only thing I'm going to put out there is I have no problem sharing. I have no problem helping people grow, because the more I help you, the more I'm helping myself, because I'm really thinking about what I'm doing, and I may be able to glean that one nugget from you as well. So
Absolutely.
If I can be a resource, if I can have that opportunity where someone might call me up and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast, or I've seen you here, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. Or would you be able to try to point me in the right direction?
No,
that's what it's all about. It's all about the mentoring and the camaraderie of what's going on out there.
Plus, you learn by teaching. I saw something one time. You remember a certain percentage of what you hear, a certain percentage of what you see, and it starts going up, but it's like, 20, 40, 50. But if you have to teach something, you remember 90% of it. So
exactly.
I think you learn by teaching. And I'm going to get all your contact info in here in just a second. Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
No, I just, once again, thank you for putting this together. You saw a need and you're filling a need, which is a great thing. And, I just hope that it catches on and that more people actually benefit from this and actually listen and find that opportunity, find those golden nuggets from not just me, but from the other people that are sharing on this podcast, because it's going to help grow the industry so much better.
Well, thank you, Bruce. And what I want to do is create almost like a forum, Windshield University, though, in the car, but without the ego. No egos. We're helping each other. We want
exactly.
We want the industry to grow as a whole, and there's a lot of interest we have in common. Well, Bruce, you mentioned you're available to help or mentor anybody. How can the listeners out there get in touch with you?
Well, first and foremost, you can reach me by my email address, which is inspect, that's INSPECT, at cox.net. That's COX.net. inspect@cox.net. My phone number is area code 602-765-2140. Find me on Facebook, Bruce LaBelle, or ask an ASHI inspector, Bruce LaBelle. Or if you're looking for just a joke or a smile, go check out Goober D Clown on Facebook. And I'll be more than happy to get back with you. You can keep an eye on my exploits as I'm out there trying to do more and better things, not just for the industry, but for helping the kids.
I hear you. Great stuff, Bruce. And one other thing, do you have a business Facebook page?
I do. It's Royal Home Inspections and Royal Home Inspectors. Okay. You also can find me on LinkedIn, which is another great resource.
I tell you what, everybody listening, if you got some value from Bruce tonight, which I know you did, go out and like his Facebook page. Let's get him pumped up there. I mean, I think it helps the more likes you got. So go find his page and like it. And Bruce, you've been more than generous with your time, and the listeners appreciate it, and I appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you so much. Have a happy and blessed 2015.
Thank you, same to you, and Happy New Year to all of the listeners out there as well.
You have been listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast, where we share funny stories and we talk about how to increase your business, and we share some success stories and some not so success stories that we can learn from. We're also here to share resources. You can find out more about today's show in show notes at the successfulhomeinspector.com. Thanks for listening.